What's going on, everybody? David here, back with another video. So we're going to do a stimulus package, stimulus check update. This is video number 2. If you want to check the first video out, you can check it out up here. We took a look and listened to Senator Bill Cassidy. Now we're going to take a look and listen to Senator Mark Warner. And both these senators are part of this bipartisan group in the Senate that created this $908 billion proposal. And so we're gonna look and see what they have to say. I wanted to do them separate because I wanted to give them both equal time. And they say some things that I had to, we need to talk about. And so that's the main reason why I wanted to make 2 videos. So we're going to take a look and listen. But first off, if you guys can do me a favor, please hit the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. All right, so Mark Warner, he's a Democrat, and he was for stimulus checks before. He was for stimulus checks before the election. All of a sudden now we have this bipartisan proposal. He might still be technically for stimulus checks, but it's not a part of this proposal. So they weren't able to come together and get this into the proposal. So let's go ahead and take a look and listen here.
Depression. Joining us now is someone playing a critical leadership role in these bipartisan negotiations, Democratic Senator Mark Warner of the great Commonwealth of Virginia. Senator Warner, you've been a critical part of this team negotiating the $908 billion deal. President-elect Biden told me he thinks it should pass, but House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer called it just a starting point for further negotiations. Are Schumer and Pelosi at this point hindering your ability to get this deal done?
Well, Jake, this is a compromise. There's been a group of 8 of us. It's grown to 10 that have worked over the last 2 weeks every day, except for Thanksgiving. We're going to have another multi-hour call today. For those of us who are Democrats, we would have preferred a bigger plan. For my Republican colleagues, they would have liked the plan that Mitch McConnell put out at about $500 billion. This is a compromise. Neither side is going to get the full amount or all the component parts that they wanted. But as you pointed out, with the economy weakening, with 200,000 additional cases of the virus yesterday, and with so many of these initiatives from the first CARES package running out as soon as the day after Christmas, it would be, what I call stupidity on steroids if Congress doesn't act. And we're going to keep at it. I think $908 billion for a targeted 4-month relief plan for a bridge to a Biden administration. I think this is the direction that Congress needs to move in.
In October, the White House reportedly offered Congress a $1.8 trillion deal, but Democratic leaders said no. They wanted a $2.2 trillion deal. Now you're looking at about half of what the White House offered, and we don't even know if you can get that passed. It seems as though the negotiating strategy of the Democratic leaders, Schumer and Pelosi, blew up in their face to the detriment of the American people.
Well, I will say this. A number of my Republican colleagues dismissed those efforts by the president right before the election because they thought he was trying to, in a sense, buy a win before the election. There's lots of what ifs, what we should have done, could have done. Where we are right now in early December, the clock is ticking. We've got to make sure we pass legislation to make sure the government continues to be funded, a defense authorization bill, and I think potentially the most critical component, this $908 billion that will give targeted relief for the unemployed, for people in food insecurity, rental assistance, small businesses that have run out of their PPP funds. We put additional funds, particularly to those minority businesses that have been extraordinarily hard hit. We put additional assistance in, finally, for broadband, which we all know is an economic necessity, additional dollars around the vaccine distribution, assistance for hospitals. I think we've got the categories, and I think we've got the top line numbers done. We are working right now on language so that we can have as early as tomorrow a piece of legislation. And
all right, so that's interesting. He said as early as tomorrow, so Monday, we might be able to see something when it comes to the language of this proposal.
Again, if there are folks on either end of the spectrum that says it's too much or they don't want to go forward, we just got to push through. And I think common sense may this time win out.
Well, as you know, the legislation you're working on as of now does not provide direct payments to Americans, and it does include some sort of liability protections for companies. Senator Bernie Sanders said because of that, he can't vote for it. He said, quote, "This proposal provides 100% legal immunity to corporations whose irresponsibility has led to the deaths of hundreds of workers. It would continue to provide a get-out-of-jail-free card to companies that put the lives of their workers and customers at risk," unquote. What's your response to Senator Sanders?
Well, my response is, Senator Sanders respectfully is not involved in these negotiations, and his characterization is just not accurate. We are looking at trying to give some level of a timeout to allow states, if they want to put in place standards. We have already, for example, in Virginia, put in COVID standards. That part of the discussion is vigorous and ongoing. And those who want the direct stimulus checks, that will be something that a President-elect Biden will grapple with. We're looking at a 4-month.
All right, so I have to stop here. So you just heard him say the whole direct payments, that's something that President-elect Joe Biden's going to have to grapple with when he becomes president. Now, let me cut back. Okay, so this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. So this is a politician right here kicking the can down the road, basically. He's saying stimulus checks, although we've wanted them in the past, now it's going to be up to President-elect Joe Biden to get these stimulus checks, get that through. But before, they were all on board. Before the election, they were all on board. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, yeah, you know what? President-elect Joe Biden, he can deal with that. I cannot understand how these politicians, how are they getting reelected? How are they getting reelected? Please tell me. Because you're going to tell me a month ago that stimulus checks are something that's good for the American people. And then just 1 month later, now all of a sudden, we're gonna let President-elect Joe Biden deal with that. And you know where the hangup was over the last 7 months. The hangup was in the Senate. And if the Senate doesn't change, and there's a good possibility that the Senate's not going to change, the leadership's going to stay the same, then guess what? You're going to have the same outcome. You're not going to get anything done. And there won't be another stimulus check. So if you want to do it now when there's urgency. If you wait a few months down the road, it's not going to get done. And so, I mean, with all due respect to Senator Mark Warner, he's not being honest. He's not being real with the American people. I mean, he's telling you, we're just going to kick it down the road and hopefully President-elect Joe Biden can do something about it. But we're not going to address it now. In a time of need, we're not going to address it now. I just, how can these politicians come up, say they represent the American people and not do anything to help the American people? Something that was effective. We had the CARES Act. We saw how the stimulus checks were effective as part of the whole package. But now you're not going to have that in this next proposal. I do not understand it. I really don't. All right, let's go ahead and continue.
Emergency relief package. And I would say to any politician in either party, they're going to go out and tell the tens of millions of unemployed workers who lose their unemployment check on the day after Christmas, people that will be kicked out of their apartments without rental assistance comes January 1st, the small businesses, the restaurants who've been trying to struggle through as the weather gets colder, won't be able to do as much outside dining, that somehow $908 billion, $908 billion, bigger than the whole TARP package, is not enough for a 4-month emergency extension. I'd like to see somebody make that case to people who, if we don't act, will be put in harm's way.
Your deal does not yet have buy-in from President Trump or Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Is McConnell going to be willing to let there be a vote on this?
Well, that's, again, when you put a bipartisan group together, you're going to end up taking incoming from both sides. I think that's what we signed up for. But the same thing I said respectfully to Senator Sanders, I'd say to Leader McConnell, do you really want to send us home without even a vote on something that I have with pretty high assurance, think would get way beyond 60 votes. The number of Republican senators, both publicly and privately, who've said, hey, you guys have done the right thing, we'll be there, goes up every day. And I think, again, there are a variety of reports of Republican senators who are talking to President Trump about this issue. I think we'll get there. I think we may have to go through a few more days of drama. We're going to keep our head down working on getting the product out, let the American people weigh in, let all our colleagues weigh in. And I think it'll be a great bridge to the Biden administration.
Senator, so that last part there, let the American people weigh in. I totally agree. You need to let the American people weigh in, and you need to listen to what the American people are saying, because they've been saying this for 7 months. They need direct payments. And we've had politicians on board in the past, Senator Mark Warner being one of them, for direct payments. But now all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you know what? Let's go ahead and deal with what we have now, and then we'll let Joe Biden deal with stimulus checks. It's just amazing to me. Now, I'm interested to see what this language looks like, because this is probably going to be just like the skinny bill. Unfortunately, that bill that was voted on in the Senate twice and failed, this is going to be very similar to that. And so we're going to have to see exactly what the language says, but it's not going to be that far off. And it's just crazy to me that some of the politicians who voted no on the skinny bill, now they're going to look at this proposal and say, oh yeah, we're going to vote yes on it. And it's almost identical. Like, we'll see when the language comes out. I'm going to do a comparison, put them side by side, and we'll look at what was in the skinny bill and what's in this new proposal, and we'll see where everything goes. Now, we do not know if Mitch McConnell is going to call this to the floor. It's still up to Mitch McConnell. He doesn't have to call this to the floor, and he has his own proposal out there. So he can just call his proposal to the floor and just forego this $908 billion. So we'll see what happens. But this week we should hear some more information, because they need to do the continued resolution, the omnibus bill, this week, and they're talking about adding this all together. So we might see some action this week when it comes down to it. We'll see what proposal they go with, because we still don't know at this point. And we still have Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell. They're negotiating things too, so we might see some changes when it comes down to it. But the moral of this story, this video, is there's no stimulus checks. And we have politicians now that they don't really care anymore. It looks like it's one of those things that they can just push that down the road is the way they feel about it. I want to know what you guys think, so let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.